Welcome to the show. You'll recognise my guest today as either the Candyman, Sergeant Warren from Platoon, Kurn from TNG or DS9, as well as older Jake Sisko and the Alpha-Hirogen in Voyager, and most recently Dojin, the Moclan delegate on last week's episode of the Orville. I'm honoured Todd is here to have a Trekzone conversation. Tony, welcome and thanks for stopping by Trekzone.
And I'm honored to be a part of Trekzone as I am of all Star Trek legacy. So thank you and your fans very much for the continual support of the Star Trek legacy.
In the very beginning of your Star Trek ride, Tony, that first casting call for Kurn, what drew you into the role?
Well, we knew that we liked each other. I'd auditioned for them 5 times before I got Kurn. And it was practically every 10 days, so it was like every episode before. And I think I lucked out because I ended up with the best role out of the 6. And to play a Klingon is an honor and an obligation. And to work opposite my brother Michael Dorn and be part of the family lineage was beyond a dream, beyond compare. I grew up as a fan, the woman that raised me, my Aunt Clara, who rescued me at the age of 3, and it just pointed me in the right direction all through my life. Every summer I was involved in a new program, whether it was geology or science or arts or museum studies. I just always had my mind challenged and active, and I honor her for every role I've gotten, but particularly Star Trek, because we used to watch the originals together, and she used that as a morality lesson for me. Who were the good guys? Who were the bad guys? Who were the in-between guys?
Well, Kurn had a complete arc throughout the 4 episodes he appeared in, ending up assuming the identity of Rodek in the episode Sons of Moog. What drew you back to the character time and again, and especially on another Star Trek show?
Because it was the same character, so I didn't want the character to die. Now, I must say that with Sons of Moog, it was one of the few jobs where I didn't read the script before I said yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that episode, because not just for me and the fact that they erased Kern's memory, but more so for my brother Worf, because that is beneath the dignity of a Klingon warrior to do that to his own sibling. So for those reasons alone, I wish I'd erased Sons of Moog. It's still a fine episode. It stands on its own, but I don't think that a Klingon, particularly a familial Klingon, would do that to another member of his own genre.
Well, you were the lead in the fantastic Season 4 episode, The Visitor, portraying the older Jake. Yeah. An episode I feel first realised the potential of the character of Sisko's son. How did you tackle that episode?
Well, first of all, that's one of my favorite hours of television that I've done. I'll stand by that. It's gotten all kinds of awards and accolades from the fans, and I really appreciate that. Again, everything goes back to my aunt who raised me, okay? She had passed away, and I was literally inconsolable for about 2-3 months. And out of the blue, script appeared. And it was as if she was saying, you have to channel me, because it was, playing older Jake Sisko, who was like in his 80s. You have to get up, channel me, use the mannerisms that I've shown you all your life, and pay homage to me. So that was a tribute to her. And I'm proud to have done that. It was probably my favorite Star Trek experience, and I'll never forget it.
The parallels of that episode then must have been uncanny, and were they difficult to work through?
No, it was like a cathartic release. It was a joy. It was like I'm on stage, I'm on camera, and I knew that it would be forever cherished. And I was proud to be able and asked to act in it. It was great.
Well, 2 years after Kern's farewell, you guested on Voyager as the Alpha-Hirogen in our introduction to the species. Were there any differences working on Voyager compared to Next Gen or DS9?
No, I knew their casting process, and I know they try to hire the best actor for the job, so I knew. And the same casting director cast all 4 shows. The only one I didn't do was Enterprise. And I still don't know why they didn't ask me. But anyway, it's great to help create a new species in the Hirosians. Now, I must say that I've done a lot of prosthetics, and the prosthetics on that character were the most difficult I've ever had. Not only did it take 6 hours to put on, but I had to notify wardrobe department, makeup department a half hour before I had to go to the bathroom. I don't know about you, but not many people can predict that. Oh, I think it's coming now. Wait a minute, 15 minutes until due day. So that perplexed, perpetual look of dissatisfaction on his face is because of severe bodily punches gone wrong.
I suppose it would have been light lunches during the week of filming, wouldn't it?
So I was grazing like a gazelle on that episode, boy, and no water.
Well, we can't.
Or coffee.
Well, that's really challenging, especially with all those long hours on set.
Isn't it? Yeah, you guys don't know the sacrifices some of these Star Trek veterans have put up with now. You don't know. But the makeup department, they do an excellent job. At the time, it was Michael Westmoreland, and he does that, and his crew of 60, sometimes 100 when there's a large cast of aliens. I mean, they're very particular and take their painstaking time to create a believable face that the actor can then inhabit. And they've already done half the battle. You know, you're watching yourself transform in front of the mirror 4 hours, playing Kurn, for example, or even on Jake, on the Visitor. My last day on set was a Sunday. My call time was 1 a.m. to be on set at 6 a.m. And we didn't wrap until 9 p.m. that night. It was my longest day of shooting ever.
Wow.
And I ran into David Livingston, who used to produce Deep Space Nine and directed my episode about 2 weeks ago, coming out of a popular grocery store. And we just acknowledged each other and both know that we did our job in that show. And as an actor, that's all you can do is to walk away from the director, and he's going to be the first one he calls when he has a project that's right for you.
Of course, we can't just talk about Star Trek, Tony. You've done so much other work, including many films in the horror genre. Candyman, 4 of the 5 Final Destination films, Night of the Living Dead, Wishmaster and Minotaur, just to name a few. Is there something about horror films that attracts you to them?
No, it was the luck of the draw. I mean, after my first film, which was Platoon, which went on to War Academy Awards, so I was immediately put on the list and started getting all kinds of auditions on a regular basis. I think Night of the Living Dead actually came first, and that was my introduction to the horror world. And working with Tom Savini was a dream come true, and it was my first lead role. And my son was born. I was in an elevated state of ecstasy. Even though I had to deal with zombies every night for 6 weeks. And then after Night of the Living Dead, Candyman came along with this crazy British chap who's a dear friend of mine, Bernard Rose, who told me that you'll never walk away from this character. I said, Bernard, it's a job, first and foremost. But at the end of the day, he was right. And I've discovered something, because it used to bother me. People say, I watched the film, it scared me to death when I was a child. And I always thought that we didn't make a babysitting service movie. But Bernard broke it down for me. And he let me know that any person that's seen the movie when they were little will remember it for the rest of their lives. So I stand corrected on that legacy.
Well, I hear there might be a Candyman reboot or a new Candyman film possibly.
Yeah, there definitely is.
Are you considered, or would you join the cast again?
They got a gag order. They have a gag order on me, but I say things look good.
Fantastic.
This is the most information I can give you at the moment, but I have been in touch.
Well, watch this space. We also can't look past.
Yeah, and that movie already has a release date set in stone, which is June 12th, 2020. So we're going to be part of the summer blockbuster madness, which is fantastic. I didn't say we. That was a mistake. And it's Jordan Peele who's helming it.
Well, Tony, there's also your extensive sci-fi work as well. X-Files, Smallville, Andromeda, Stargate, the Babylon 5 film A Call to Arms, and Transformers. Is there a difference between sci-fi and horror?
Yeah, I guess sci-fi is more thought-provoking and considers the possibilities of things, whereas horror is more dramatic and cuts to the chase in a quicker pace. But both things, you're an actor, and like I told you, I have a master's in theater, so I know how to craft a character. It's the first thing I do is, who is this person? What does he want? Where is he coming from? What's his point of view? And how am I like this person? How am I not like this person? And all those things get factored into the creation of the role. So no matter what the genre is, I'm just happy and thrilled when they ask me to come play.
Well, most recently, you were a guest on The Orville, a show that pays homage to Star Trek, with a lot of Trek alum in front and behind the camera. What drew you to the show?
Just that fact. Yeah, I mean, it's a new sci-fi show on TV. I wasn't seeking it out, per se, but they came to us and made us an anchor. So... And then they told me the cast list. I mean, we had Ted Danson in an episode, Victor Garber, Mary F. Abraham, Rena Owen. I mean, it was a star-studded guest star list. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of that? And it was another chance to get behind underneath prosthetics, which, as I already explained, is my favorite thing in the world to do.
As you said before, sci-fi is very thought-provoking, and that episode, their Sanctuary, was very thought-provoking, and it was a very powerful analogue to what's happening in the world these days. What was it like to play that Moclan delegate that was very opposed to this different way of thinking?
Well, that's his point of view. That's his character. I mean, the Moclan's a same-sex race of people. And all of a sudden we find out that there's a faction of us of 6,000 other sex people out there. That can't happen. So from his point of view, he believes in the sanctity and the preservation of the singularity of his race. And that's all he wanted. So from my point of view, he's absolutely correct in doing it. Now, Tony, judging the whole thing, am I like that? Not at all. I'm very much a liberal. But I was reading a couple of reviews, and a lot of people said it was very reflective of the Me Too movement, which I consider a high honor.
Fantastic. Well, needless to say, you've done so much work on the big and small screen, and you are incredibly talented. So I wanted to ask you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to ask, what drew you to Alec Peters' Prelude to Axanar, which was helmed by Christian Gossett?
Who did you say?
Alec Peters?
No, that's not what drew me to the project. I was approached by Christian Gossett. Okay. That's who I met with. That's who I had dinner with at a lovely restaurant. We had a Korean barbecue meal. I believe Alec was there. He didn't really say much, so I didn't really have a take on him. But I bonded with the director. It's a director and an actor's medium. And it was Christian's dedication and study and hard work and directorial design pattern that made that short the impactful tribute to Star Trek that it was. That's who I signed on to do it with. That's why I did it, and I did it for the documentary going on behind the scenes of this project. And I made public opposition to that because people kept using my image to keep selling different products, from coffee mugs, t-shirts, so forth. And that's not what I signed on for. I think that when things go wrong with crowdfunding like that, so many young filmmakers, to get their film made, they go through a crowdfunding page, and they're very sincere. And they get it done, and they use those funds appropriately. Unfortunately, there's a small percentage of people that misuse those funds. Not accusing anybody of anything, but somehow things slipped away. And that's when I jumped off board, which is around right after Christian jumped off board, because if Christian wasn't going to be directing it, there was no point, because that was my bond. Okay, I know that they picked up another director. I don't know him. I've heard good things about him, but my relationships with Christian Gossett, and that's why I left. And I feel bad for the fans, and particularly the fans who may have contributed to, the massive fundraising campaign that they not only set, but they achieved. So I ask you, and I ask Star Trek fans, and I ask people who question Prelude to Axanar everywhere, where's the money and where's the finished product? And
I think that's the biggest question as well. And we're all the way down the rabbit hole, and the feature's now not going to be made following the lawsuit and all that sort of stuff. And
yeah, because the way they behaved, the whole lawsuit thing, which is another fiasco. And then when they finally came out with the judgment, where it's killed professional actors from working in fan-based films forever. We cannot do that any longer. And they also limited time of fan-based films to 15 minutes. So you got to be able to tell your story that you say raised. So let's say you raised 100,000. You got to be able to tell it in 15 minutes. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but whoever messed up, you didn't just mess up for the sake of Axonaut. You messed up for the future of filmmakers everywhere. And for that, you have to live with that for the rest of your soulful life. And people will figure out a way to make the projects that they love to make anyway, to tell the stories. I used to teach, and I tell everybody, there's a story inside of everybody. Go through life, you get closer and closer to what that is. And when you're young, you're like a butterfly. There's 100 things that I'm interested in. And with each passing year, that gets narrowed down. And finally, you're left with that nectar, that nucleus of your story. And for everybody that wants, and I encourage future filmmakers, future scriptwriters, future theater goers, find your story and tell the truth. And let people see the mirror to life. Otherwise you're just a pirate and a charlatan and a thief.
Well, let's move on. Let's put a pin in that and say that it was
okay. I thought that's what you wanted to talk about because I have a lot to say, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything because I'm not in anybody's pocketbook. But I ask again, where is the money?
And there is no answer to that question.
Christian Gossett, we're actually talking to each other. He's got a new project that he wants me to play a school principal. So I'm very excited to work with him again because, I just try to inspire future filmmakers. One of the keys to longevity in this industry is continue working with directors. If you work with a director once and it was good, maintain that relationship. So I have a list of maybe 10, 15 directors that I've done repeated work with, and those are always the best. You look for that John Huston, Humphrey Bogart type of connection where not only are you professionals, but you're also friends. You drink together, you go fishing together, you hang out at a bar together, you go to a game together,
So with Axonaut, it very much was Christian Gossett that brought you onto the show.
That's who I talked to. That's who I talked to at the supper before the thing, and that's who directed me on the day. That's it. And I had heard a rumor that someone wanted to be in it, and I heard that they were horrible. They were terrible. And I made a suggestion that perhaps you want to hire an actor for that. But what do I know?
There were just so many poor decisions following the success of Prelude. What could have been such a fantastic film.
Yeah, it was a success, wasn't it? Wasn't it a success?
It was a very big success, and especially your role.
Yeah, and then because of that, then what do? They turn around and they try to raise more money. I don't know. It sounds criminal to me, but I'm not a lawyer or a judge. And I wish them well, and I'm proud of that moment in time. Has it been taken down from social media? Is it available? Can people still find it?
It's still available on YouTube, and it's still getting some very good viewing. People are still flocking to it, and they're asking the same questions as you. They're asking where's the film, and Alec Peters' response to that is that he was told, through all of the lawsuit, that he wasn't able to do the film in the end. Except if he'd have just gotten in and gotten it done with the team that he had with Prelude, I think that Admiral Ramirez would have made another appearance.
Yeah, he was a great character. And it was my first time working, I was working without prosthetics in the Star Trek universe. That was important for me.
So it was a very different experience then.
Yeah, it's just me and what I stood for. I've been fortunate in the Star Trek world to play all sides of the starship. And not many actors can say that, so I'm proud of that.
Well, your Star Trek resume stands at guesting in 3 series, voice acting in 3 Star Trek games. If Discovery's producers offer you a role on the latest incarnation, would you jump at the chance?
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, Doug Jones is a dear friend of mine. I remember we ran into each other at the airport 4 months ago, and he asked me, how come you're not on my show? I said, I don't know. I mean, I don't seek out television roles like that. I just think it's a no-brainer. They should figure that out. But no, I have not been approached yet. But we'll see what happens. I think the future is looking bright, actually. I know I have a slate of films starting in May all the way through September, 4 different projects that I'm going to be focusing on. And And a big announcement that I'll be able to make probably next week, the week of the 23rd, the last week of April, 2019. I'll be able to be making a big announcement on my Twitter feed at Tony Todd 54 about my future day job, which is going to fuel every other job. That's the most I can say at the moment, but I don't mean to be a tease. And I'm also working on my autobiography, which is going to include extensive chapters on every single role I've ever done.
Fantastic, Tony. Well, I'm looking forward to all of that, and especially hearing about your new day job. I'm very excited for you.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you more, but it's legal contractions and stuff. But let's put it this way. They're in legal now. They're all working out paperwork. And as soon as that gets sorted and I sign, then I can make an announcement. But it's going to be huge.
Fantastic, Tony. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, man. Finally, I'm glad that we were able, because, we've been chasing each other for a minute now, and I'm glad we were able to figure it out. By the way, I've been to Australia. I wasn't in Brisbane, but I've been in Melbourne and the Gold Coast. Loved it. And I've been to your neighboring country, New Zealand, several times when I did Hercules and Xena. So I love that part of the world. Oh, and I just came back from South Africa. I shot a comedy over there.
Oh, fantastic.
It's called Bulletproof 2. That I can tell you. With Faison Love. And I had a blast. Something about that side of the world where, you guys are a day ahead. It's amazing.
Well, Tony, next time you're in this part of the world, the beers are on me, okay?
All right. Sounds good, Matt.
Fantastic, Tony. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having a Trekzone conversation.
Thank you. And good continued success with Trekzone.